Hey, good morning, everyone. Good morning.
Good morning,
How's everyone?
Professor.
Hey,
Good
good
morning,
morning,
Professor.
Sierra. Good morning, Violetta.
Good morning.
Uh, good morning, Nelly. So I see seven people, eight people as of this moment. And I would like to remind you, we have only two more classes left, right? This Wednesday and next Monday. And
Hello,
uh,
Professor.
hi, how are you, Lila? So the last day of class is December 13th, but that's Tuesday. So our last day is Monday, next Monday. So two more classes left, and I'm trying to cover as much as we can before. I mean, everything has been covered by the main lecture, by already the pre-recorded lectures. Everything has already been covered. We're all on schedule. But the collaborate is always it's behind the curve, and it's inevitable because collaborate happens to be like a reflection of the main lecture, and therefore the final announcement has already been issued. I don't know if that went out. But if you go to the announcements folder or area or section, you'll find the final instruction, right? Final announcement. Um, and we are entering a new topic today, right? We're going into the okay, not the course material, topic 5, risk and return. So we're going to actually, work with the actual data, right? But before that, we will review the lecture, and then after reviewing the lecture, then we're going to uh, actually download the data uh, and work with the actual data to find, how to measure, how to calculate return and how to calculate the risk. Okay, so take a listen. Take a listen. All right, so let's.
Hi, greetings. Welcome.
Okay.
Face cold.
Okay, let's see.
We have the file that we downloaded, right? I told you to save that file, and I have. Uh,
Well, as I've been always telling you, you need to take it with some grain of salt because this recording was created in the uh, 2020, April, May of 2020. So the data I downloaded at the time was, the first two quarter, at 5 years data, monthly data of Apple as of 2020. So that was April of 2020 when I downloaded this data. But we're going to work with the current data. So actually, I have already downloaded uh, Apple's data past 5 years, monthly, as of full 2022. But don't we're gonna use it later. But I want you to actually you need to download the data. Okay, you need to have your own data. instead of just using. It's like if you use this data, it's like a spoon feeding everything. All righty. So let's continue.
I did some housekeeping with the file, with the data, because this is the original data that was downloaded. But when we downloaded it originally, it didn't look like this, because it was in a default font. I usually, when you download the data, it's in like a font face called Calibri, and the font size would be 0.11. But I told you the importance of cleaning up the data. So while you're cleaning up the data, you would, if possible, change the font, because the default font is not very vision friendly, and you can easily get tired if you are dealing with numerical data, and if it is not in vision friendly font, you can easily you lose interest easily, quickly, and you get tired easily. So what I did was I highlighted the entire spreadsheet and changed the font to something I prefer, and font size I prefer always 0.14. Size 14 is it looks like this. It looks decent, decent sized. And then although Times New Roman is preferred, but to go down to Times New Roman, you got to go down scroll down a long list. So instead of going down all the way, somewhere slightly below there is a font family called Bakersville, which looks pretty much like Times New Roman. So I just to save the trouble of scrolling down the long list, I simply picked that. That's fine. I mean, that's not. But anyway, just talking about the importance of cleaning the data, and then I sorted I sorted the data in descending order. Originally, it was in ascending order, right? Starting from 2015, right? But just select one cell, and by clicking on this, right, sort. But that's descending order, right? From Z to A, right? So click on it, and it sorts in descending order, right? So you have the most recent data on top, right? Now that I told you to, I highlighted these columns, right, this area, and copied and brought it to the next sheet and pasted it here. And then I deleted all the other columns, leaving only close and adjusted close price. Last time I told you the important, although there are 4 price points, right? Open, high, low, and close, right? Open, high, low, they are all irrelevant, right? Because the conclusion of the day's trading is the closing price at the closing, right? Closing price at the end of the day, just like that for the month as well. This means these are monthly data. So you have opening price of the month, and then high of the month, low of the month, closing of the month. Of course, April hasn't ended, March has ended, so this is March close price. And I told you not to get misled by this calendar date. This is just format, date format, right? I mean, if this is daily data, then daily price, then this is March 1st price. But this is monthly, and even for monthly, so this is the end of the month data, so it's March 31st. But March is represented by March 1st, okay? That's just the way it is. February is represented by February 1st. So this is the way the calendar date is this is the way the calendar date is represented in the spreadsheet. So don't worry about the whether it is the first day of the month or the last day of the month. And they will always give you the first day of the month, right, to represent the month. Okay. Actually, what you got there is the end of the month price. Okay. This closing is, in other words, this closing is the closing, the last day, closing price of the last day of March, closing price of the last day of February. Okay. And since April has ended, right? Of course, April, this is really the first day of April. And then add the 17th, right? The closing price of the 17th is the representative of the April closing, because April hasn't ended yet. And also think about it. These dates are really artificial, because why? Think about it. is there any guarantee that at the first day of the month, the trading day all the time? What if the first day of, right? I mean, anybody, with any sensible mind or with a common sense can easily tell it that the first day of the month doesn't necessarily fall on Monday or Friday or Wednesday. I mean, what if the first day of the month was Saturday? No trading on Saturday. What if the first day of the month was the national holiday? No trading on that day, right? So actually, the first day of the month is only, once again, it's only symbolic, right? Doesn't necessarily mean that was really the real, trading day, okay? So anyway, I copied all the data and pasted it here. Simply select one cell and I'll show you. And we did it last time, so I'm not gonna. So I copy, right? Bring it here. And just paste, right? Just select one cell and paste, okay? And then I deleted, right? Those columns, right? I think I need to show you again. What I did was simply, I don't need these columns, so highlight those columns and just delete, right? Okay, so that's what I did, and I have only close and adjusted close price left. So then the next question is, what's the difference between close and adjusted close? Now, the difference between a closing price is literally closing, but adjusted close price means it's the price adjusted for stock splits and dividends. Okay, stock splits and dividends. So what does that mean? Now you remember stocks pay dividends quarterly, every 3 months, right? Quarterly. And you saw that, before we downloaded the data. On the web page, it was quite obvious. On the web page, Yahoo Finance web page was showing you the dividend payments every 3 months. So there was, a most recent dividend was paid in February, and the previous one was in November. And I told you, February dividend is actually the dividend of the fourth quarter of 2019, right? And you cannot pay the dividend.
Professor, your mic is on, and there is a background noise.
Any sensible mind will easily understand.
Was someone saying something?
Yeah, your mic is open, so there is a background noise.
I heard. Oh, yeah. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Sorry.
Now we can't hear.
So it's inevitable, right? My microphone has to be on so that because this video is playing on my computer, so to hear my so I'll be very quiet. I'll try to be very quiet. Okay, sorry about that. Alrighty, so I guess I will have to rewind a little. Maybe about 20-30 seconds.
Right? So, but since the dividend is paid quarterly, right? Then every month, other than the out of 3 months, 1 month has dividend, other 3 months don't have dividends. And so when we calculate return, remember what is return? Let me go back to first stop sharing this, and let me use whiteboard, right? So you guys remember what return is? First of all, remember first thing is holding period. What's the holding period? I mean, this is the first thing you learn. During the holding period, there must be capital gains, right? Or capital loss. and then cash flow, sum of all the cash flow during that holding period, right? And divide by price at time t minus n, right? So, or price at time 0, right? So what that means is, suppose we are at time t now. At the end of time t, then the price capital gains is between the price at time t and price at time t minus n, right? And can be, any number, right? Like it can be n can be 5 years, 2 years, right? And then that's capital gains, right? And sum of all the cash flows during the holding period. So holding period is actually between t minus n t, right? So there will be n cash flow from n periods, right? For n period. Okay, so this is holding period return, right? But what if it is, just a single period, one period? So if holding period is just one period, let's call it RT, okay? Return at time t, right? And what is return at time t? Of course, it would be capital gains. But capital gains for one period. So one period means, there will be a price at time t and price at time t minus 1, right? There will be a price at time t, and that's one period, right? So, and then there will be, and if you're talking about stocks, right? There will be, during this period, there will be a dividend. Cash flow is dividend. And one period dividend, right? Dividend at time t. And then during the price at the initial price is, right? Price at time t minus 1. Okay. Now then, let's think about it. What is the then one period? If the holding period is one period, right? One holding period, and during this holding period, if you're getting one dividend payment, right? What does that mean? This is at least a quarterly holding period must be at least quarter, and this is quarterly price, right? This is the price at the end of this quarter, price at the end of the previous quarter, right? Makes sense? But then here we have a problem here. First of all, you understand that not all the companies pay dividend. Not all the companies pay dividend. There are some companies don't pay dividend. Some companies pay dividend. And even if the company pays dividend, it may not pay consistently every quarter, right? Sometimes they skip, right, the dividend. And they may, by the decision of the board, they may stop paying dividend for a very long time, and then then resume paying dividends after 10 years or something like that. Apple actually did that. Apple stopped paying dividends for almost like 10 years in the early 2000s, and then started to pay dividends again from around 2012, like that, if I remember correctly. So if the company doesn't pay any dividend, this doesn't matter. I mean, this is irrelevant if it doesn't pay any dividend, right? Doesn't matter. But this becomes a problem. But the problem is, are we dealing with quarterly data? Are we dealing with quarterly data? No, we're not dealing with quarterly data. We are dealing with monthly data. If you are dealing with monthly data, we have a problem. Why? Because 1 out of every 3 months we have dividend, but then the other 2 months we have any dividend. So in other words, there will be like a little spike every 3 months, right? Of course, we can make adjustment every 3 months, but then this will be a tedious job if you're dealing with. Remember, we downloaded past 5 years worth of data, right? And that's data points. Actually, we downloaded 61. And if you're dealing with like 60 data points, right, making this adjustment every month, every quarter, right, it's going to be a tedious job, right? So what we do, instead, we will use adjusted close price. Then that means every month, the price every month it has already priced in, right? It's been adjusted for the dividend. So you don't have to worry about dividend when you are calculating the monthly return. I mean, if this return is monthly return, then this dividend becomes a problem, right? Because not every month you have this data. But if you price this in if you make the adjustment into every monthly price, then we don't have to worry about it. I said adjusted close price means adjusted for stock splits and dividends. Stock splits. Next question is stock splits. And I told you, in one of the past classes, I've told you that stocks sometimes split, and why? Well, they split for liquid reason. Right? Remember that? From the day one, when we started talking about return on investment, I talked about this on several occasions. Now, if the stock becomes too expensive, right, then what happens? The stock becomes less marketable. If it becomes too expensive, it becomes less marketable. And I gave you an example with the municipal bond. Remember, the municipal bond has face value of $5,000, whereas all the other bonds, corporate bonds, Treasury has $1,000 face value. And if so, suppose you have only $5,000. If you buy Treasury, or if you buy corporate bonds, you can buy about 5 bonds, approximately, right? Of course, depending on whether it is a discount bond or premium bond, it could be less than 5 or it could be more than 5. But since you cannot buy a fractional bond, if the bonds are discount bonds, you may be able to buy 5 with $5,000 and still some money left, right? If it's premium bond, you cannot buy 5, you will buy less than 5, maybe 4, and some money left. But think about it. If you use that $5,000 to buy a municipal bond, you can buy only 1, right? And then think about it. If you need, suppose you put it into a municipal bond, then you can, and you need something happened, and you need cash very urgently, right? And now, if you have, suppose you need $2,000 urgently. If you have 5 corporate bonds, you can sell two of them, and in other words, cash out 2, and you get $2,000 in cash, and still $3,000 still in the bond, so you can continue to earn. Let's say if the coupon rate is 10%, you can continue to earn 10% on $3,000, right? If it was corporate bond that you bought, but if you bought the municipal bond, then there is no way you can conveniently cash out only $2,000. Just cash out $2,000, you will have to sell the entire bond, and then you now have liquidity, but then no more interest, right? No more coupon on the muni bond. So that is the reason. The same logic, same reasoning applies to the stock. And I told you before, Apple was about $660 in 2014 before it split. Around September of 2014, Apple split. Until then, it was like $660. And it was like a 7-to-1 split, 7-to-1. That means one stock split into 7. So each stock was, then 60 divided by 7, you calculate probably $90 or $80-something. So the stock, the price per share became much cheaper, but that doesn't mean you lose money, because if I had 10 shares of Apple, my total investment, my total value of my investment was $600, right? And after split, then my number of shares will be 70, right? 70. And then, each share is like, if it is $90, right? 90 something, right? Suppose, just to make it simple, $90 times, 70. That's going to be 6,300, right? So actually, it was 90 something, I believe. So the total value is the same. But think about it this way: stock becomes more marketable, right? People who were shying away from buying Apple because of too high face value, right? Market price, too high market price, because of the liquidity concern, right? Now can buy Apple more readily, right? So then that's the reason they split, right? But then the next question is, once you split, what happens to the data? If you look at the price data, until like September, it was 660. And then after split, it suddenly is 90 something, 97 or something. And think about it. If you didn't know anything about the history, right? Whether they, if you had no idea whether Apple split, looking at the data, what would you think? You might think Apple crashed suddenly one day in September, right? And besides, so first of all, the data loses continuity because there is a sudden break, right? Or disruption in the continuity of data. And how would you, between September and October, how would you calculate the return? You would subtract the September price, right? September price. You would subtract the September price, which is like, 660, right? You would subtract it from the October price, which would be like 90.78 divided by 660, right? Don't you think this is crazy? I mean, this would give you definitely a negative return, significantly negative return, right? So obviously, this is a very stupid thing if you do it like this. So what do? You will need to adjust all the pre-split price, pre-split. This is the pre-split price. You will adjust it to a post-split price, right? Makes sense. So that the data will run smoothly. So let's say if in October, if it was $99 and pre-split price was like 660, but then you adjust it to something like after split, adjusted for that split factor, this becomes like let's say $95. Then the data will run smoothly. You understand? Okay. So let me go back to the Excel and then. Alrighty, so now you understand why we use, why we'll need to use adjusted close price. So then I'm not gonna, I will not delete it. I'll just, close that column and change the label, right, to PT, because that's a dollar price. That's the price, right? And then I won't need, so this is April 1st, and if we already at the end of April, right, it will be marked, it will be noted as 5-1, right? You understand? 5-1. May 1st represents actually the then it would represent the okay. So let me delete this, okay? Because currently because this is we're not at the end of April, but by doing this this is the latest March April price now. So now it is consider this as the end of the month. So I want to calculate return. So how do you calculate return? Remember, one period return or the monthly return is PT minus 1 over PT minus 1. Okay, then this is PT, right? And what is PT minus 1? Where is PT minus 1? PT minus 1 from April, PT minus 1 price at T minus 1, previous month, it is March price, isn't it right? It has to be March price. Makes sense? It's the March price. So then that's PT minus 1, isn't it right? Then PT minus 1 over PT minus 1. Okay? So then this is monthly return, right? Hit enter. Okay, I will give it the percentage, right? Percentage, and give it at least 2 decimal places. Okay, now I would like to give this also $sign because we have so many digits, but if it is in dollars, we don't have any more than 2 decimal places. I mean, meaning we don't use anything more than anything less than a cent, right? So, and I can, because it's the same formula repeating over and over, I will just copy and drag it all the way down, okay? But I will stop here because it won't compute any return because to compute return, there has to be data, right? But that's fine. That's fine. Why? We have, as long as we have 60 data points, right? That's why as long as we have 60 data points, right? 60 monthly data points. There are 60 of them, right? Because 5 years is 60 months, right? So we got the monthly ones. Then naturally, your next question, you will wonder, okay, I got the, wouldn't you want to know what was the average monthly return in the last 5 years? Yes, you would want to know the average monthly return. So what do you do? You will take the average, right? So to take the average, you can simply type in, As you type in, ABE, or you get average come up, right? Double click and simply highlight this data range, right? There's going to be 60 of them, right? And then voila, that is the monthly average, right? Average monthly return. So this is called expected return. Or average or mean return or expected return. Now, of course, you understand that the average is mean. Why is it also expected? Now, expected value, expected return. When we say expected, this expected means rationally expected. In other words, it's the probability weighted average. In other words, you might think when we say expected, generally don't. Students many times many times I ask the students what grade do you expect from this class, and every time I ask this, then some students say A. That student is either very ambitious or just wishful, or just clueless, right? I mean, how can you expect A? I mean, if you have been doing well, right? I mean, every exam, every test, you got the highest score, right? And every class you never missed. You have perfect attendance. You have been doing, you've been getting high scores in every exam and every test, every homework. Then you can reasonably expect A, right? But otherwise, if you say A, then that's just a wishful thinking, right? Or otherwise, you're just clueless, right? But then this is important. If your expectation is rational, right? Rationally expected, right? Why? It's based on your past performance, and it is all factored in, right? So, and statistically, right? Suppose you are. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but in probability theory, right? In probability theory, let me go back to the whiteboard. Suppose you are playing a dice game, right? And a dice is everyone understands, a dice is a fair cube. Fair cube means, it's a perfect cube. And if it is a perfect cube, and there are 6 numbers on each side, and each number has the same probability, right? Isn't that right? The probability of every number, I represents individual number. Probability of all numbers are 1/6. Every number is 1/6. Isn't that right? And suppose you are playing this game where you roll a dice, and the number that comes up, right? You win the dollar. You win the dollar amount, matching the number that comes up. So then, so in this game, you will never lose anything, but you have only something to gain, and the dollar amount you can ranges between 1 to 6, and all of those numbers have the same probability of 1/6. Isn't it right? As long as the dice is not distorted, right? If it is not a fair cube, then they would have a different probability, but they all have the same probability because it's a cube, right? Then what is the expected payoff from this game? What's the expected payoff? Okay, expected payoff it's hard to write that. Expected payoff is actually, how do you find expected payoff? Once again, we'll say $6. No, that's your wishful thinking. I mean, how can you reasonably think 6 will come up, right? So how do you know what's going to come up? You don't know. So you'll have to weight every possible number by their weight, right? So that means, it's going to be the sum of every number, right? Of course, the number runs from 1 to 6, right? And then you will multiply, you will weight the probability, right? You will weight every number, right? In other words, by the probability. So that is like, then it's going to be like, 1/6 times first possible payoff is $1, right? And then 1/6 times $2. And you keep going like this, that. Right? And then, so we truncate the middle, right? $3. So then times the last possible number is $6, right? So if you do this, this is what? This is the average, isn't it, right? Weighted average, which is an over. And then each possible outcome, $1, $2, $3, $4, they are all weighted by their probabilities. And then you will find, oh, in that case, isn't this, because 1/6 is a common factor, if you factor out over 6, it's simply, sum of all the numbers, $1, $2, $3 plus all the way, right? And then $6. Isn't that exactly how you find the simple average? Yes. If you think about it, it's exactly right. In this example, in this case, you can factor out the common factor, right? Right, which is 1/6, right? And then you sum all the numbers, right? Running from 1 through 6, right? So in this case, it's a simple average, right? So it's a special case of weighted average. Simple average is a special case of weighted average where all the weights, right? All the weights are the same, right? Okay. So then this comes to, if you do this, this will come to $3.50. Okay, $3.50. Actually, think about it. There are 3 pairs of 7 times 3, 21. 21 divided by 6. Right? You'll get, right? So think about it. This is exactly simple average, but this is the expected payoff. Expected payoff. In other words, because it is all rationally expected. Why? Because you factor in the probabilities of each event, each number that can come up, right? So this is the most rationally expected, which is the average, right? In this case. But if the weights are different, it will be weighted average. But with the same weights, it's just simple average, right? But then, now let's think about it. Can you win $3.5 in this dice game? Is it possible? No, it's not. You can't win 3.5. Why? Because 3.5, that number doesn't exist on the dice, right? Right? But still, even though it's impossible to win $3.5, but that's the most rationally expected value, right? So this is why average is called expected, right, or expected return. In this case, let me go back to, okay, application, go back to Excel, okay. So now this is why it's called expected return, right? Expected return is the mean.
Okay, so just to summarize, the expected return or expected payoff, or when we say expected, it's we have to put the expectations operator, which is E, and then whatever is expected, the value that is expected comes after that E, uppercase E, and it comes in the bracket, and that means it's the average, rationally expected average, right? As I said, if you've been doing, very well in every exam, every test, every quiz, every homework, then it's reasonable, right? To expect you would also that mean of that mean of that trend means already mean of that trend will continue, and that's reasonable and that's rational, right? That's So, if you've been acing in every exam, you can reasonably and rationally expect that you will also ace in the final and overall semester grade, you will get an A. And that's quite reasonably and rationally expected, right? Your rationally expected grade from this class. But you cannot, if you've been doing very badly, you've been you are at the bottom, in the first quiz, you are near the bottom in the midterm, below average in the quiz two, and really below average in everything. You cannot reasonably expect and rationally expect to you know get an A in any class, right? That's what is expected, right? It's not like what do you expect? A? No, that's baseless, right? If you just say A, so you need to be, by the time when you are about 20 years old, then you should be able to distinguish between wishful thinking and expectation, right? Expectation cannot deviate from the mean trend, right? Um, it cannot suddenly, you got let's say, there was no sign of, a child prodigy will grow up to be a grown-up genius. But you were, no child prodigy suddenly, one day become a genius. That is, not rationally expected. I mean, I'm not saying that cannot happen, but that would be an outlier. Statistically, that would fall into a 2% probability range. And that's a very, very low probability. So it cannot completely happen, but statistically speaking, it's it's not rationally expected. It's not rationally expected, right? Okay, continue.
In return, so what this is telling you is, on average, right, over the last 60 months, Apple earned 1.81% return monthly, right? So 1.81% seem very much, but suppose Apple grows, this is the growth rate of Apple. So then starting from, let's just try this simply, right? If we compound this price, right? If we compound this price, like April 2015 price, right? 1 plus this, right? Think about it. Annually, it's going to be the annual return will be 1 plus this raised to 12. That would be annual, right? Isn't it right? And then over 60 months, right? If you compound it, raise it to 60, right? This is what we would expect, 60 months later. Of course, it may not be, because we are, about $50, right? Short of this expectation, right? But still, think about it. The idea is, if there was not, a lot of fluctuations during, these last 5 years, right? If it was just smoothly growing at this, we would have got to 388 by now. And if you, another thing, what would be the annual return then? Of course, you raise this to 12 and minus 1. Annually, if it grows at 1.81%, annual is going to be, right, 24%. Make sense? Okay. All right. Next thing. Next. So you would be interested in, we can copy that, and I'll take it here and paste. But I'm going to paste only, pasting would, if you paste it in, of course, it's going to also bring in all the formulas, right? Because these are based on the formula. And of course, we're going to be losing that because, We don't have the data. But what I would like to do is, place it there, and instead of putting the formula, we'll just copy the value only, the numbers, right? So if you go to a paste special and paste values, right? Now let's see. You see, only the values are copied, right? I'm gonna close this, right? Then one thing you can do. Don't you want to know what was the best, highest return during this period and lowest return? Don't you want to sort it in like descending order? Then yeah, I did that, and then it was sorted in descending order. So the best month for Apple was August of 2018. Just in 1 month, they gained almost 20%, right? And then the worst month was November of 2018. In just 1 month, they lost almost 20%, right? It may look symmetrical, but no, it's not really. Why? Because if it looks like, if it's 19% on the right tail and 19% to the left tail, and if the mean is 0, then it's the mean is not 0. Mean is 2, right? Mean is 2, and then upper tail ends at 19% or 20%, 19, yeah, almost 20%. Lower tail, the left tail ends at 18%. So it's, yeah, you can say it's symmetrical in the sense that mean is about 2, and to the right it is 20%, to the left it is 18%. So it's almost symmetrical, but it doesn't, it's just a coincidence, okay? Next thing, now think about it. Wouldn't you want to know, and now that you know the mean is 18%, next, don't you want to know the average deviation from the mean, or average, fluctuation from the mean?
Okay, right? So average deviation from the mean, that will be our next topic. And since currently it is 11:51, this is a good time to take a break. So let's take a 10-minute break and return at 12:01, or around 12:01, and we're going to continue with the average deviation around the mean, okay, which is called the standard deviation. All right, so let's take a 10-minute break, okay? All right, so we're back. So we're gonna continue. We're gonna pick it up right from where we left off, and so this is the discussion about the standard deviation, okay, which is kind of average deviation from the mean, right? Okay, take a listen.
Don't you want to know? Every month they fluctuated, the return fluctuated, right? From the mean, right? So if you knew the average fluctuation or deviation from the mean, don't you think it would be the next logically, that's what you want to know next, and then at least you would have some rough idea about how wild the swing is, right? Yes. Then to do that, we would like to. What would you do then? Of course, I will take the difference. I mean, what's the idea? The deviation is basically, we want to know the average deviation from the mean. So deviation is basically each monthly return and the average, isn't it right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the difference between each monthly return and the mean. Okay. So that's. But then I'm not gonna do this one by one. I will just copy and paste it all. I'm gonna just copy and paste it all the way down. But then you copy and paste it. You have to also realize that as D2 goes down to D3, this will go down to D64, and there's nothing D64. D63 is the average, so you want to keep it locked into D64. So what do you hit F4, and then the average will be locked, right? D63 will be locked. So when you drag it down, right, it's not going to change, right? It will be always, okay. So then, next question is, I want to then, good, I'm going to sum everything, right? So you want to take average, you will first need to sum everything, right? Isn't it right? And then divide by the number of data points, right? So you're going to sum everything. And you want to divide it. Then when you summed everything, what happened? It's 0. Why is it 0? I mean, did I do something wrong? No, you didn't do anything wrong. You summed everything. But why is it 0? It's supposed to be 0. It's bound to be 0. Why? Why? What we did was this column, right? Column E. Column E is the column of what? The deviations from the mean, difference terms. Excuse me. What that means is mean is a neutral number. Mean is a very neutral number. And so if you take the difference with the mean, that means half of these data points are positive, and half of the other half is negative. So if you sum everything, they will cancel out, right? The positive numbers will cancel out with the negative numbers. So it's bound to be 0. Then you are at a loss. You don't know what to do. And how do I then take the average deviation if the sum of all these are sum of all this deviations is 0? I mean, dividing this by 16 will do nothing. It will just give you 0. So it looks like you are at a blind dead end. No, actually, you're not at a dead end. You can get around this. So question is that how do we get around this problem? Some of you may say, so it's what if we use only positive difference term? Well, what's going to happen if you use only positive terms? Doesn't have to be it is not going to do a correct representation of the.
Okay, there's some audio problem, playback. I don't know if it is just the playback or the original source, but let me rewind just to make sure that it is
this problem. Some of you may say, so it's what if we use only positive difference term? Well, what's going to happen if you use only positive terms? Doesn't
okay, so that I'll have to explain it myself because playback has a problem. So again, we cannot just throw away half the data points. I mean, it may not exactly be half, but if we use only positive terms, then it's like throwing away half the data point. And we have 60 data points, and there's 60 data points display some dynamics, right, in the data. In other words, how it has moved and changed over time. So if you throw away half the data points, just like the old expression, proverbial expression, throwing away the baby with the bathwater, right? You don't want to throw the baby with the bathwater, right? So you cannot just selectively use positive because actually there were negative price actions below the mean. So we have to we cannot do that. Instead, we have to take the then if we square them, when you square anything, it all becomes squared terms are all positive, right? So we can work with the square terms, and then when we after we have reached something desired result with the square terms, then we can revert it back to the original, right, level value, not the squared value, right? So mathematically, that is not difficult. So let's continue.
Is not going to give you a correct picture, correct representation of the deviations, right? In other words, returns trend. So you cannot use, only the positive numbers. And there is one solution. One solution is you will square the different terms. Think about it. Squaring the different terms. If you square the different terms, everything will be positive, right? Any number squared is always positive, isn't it right? So we'll retain all the 60 data points. We're not going to lose any of them. And then we can find the average of all these, right? Think about it. Difference, when we say difference, right? Deviation, right? Some are negative, but negative means it's just to the left side of the left-hand side of the mean. Make sense? The negative values are the distances to the left of the mean, right? And the positive deviations are the numbers that are to the right side of the mean, right-hand side of the average. So actually, in terms of the distance, there's no negative distance, right? It's just to the left of the mean or to the right of the mean. So there's no, it's perfectly okay to use, squared terms. And all you need to do is then simply simply square it, right? And we got that, and I'm going to give it, I'm going to do, yeah. Where is it? Where's fingers? Okay, and I'm going to also give it percentage, right? That's what to be consistent, right? And then don't leave it like this because there's a big difference, right? So always use 2 decimal places, right? Or 3, list 3, right? 2 is fine. Now you can drag it down. Okay, then you auto sum everything, right? Okay, so this is, let me do this. I will do this. I will highlight the entire cell. Make it 14. Okay. What is this? This is the sum of all the squared difference, right? It's the sum of all the squared difference terms. So it's got a name. It's called SSQ. So some of you may ask, so Professor, what is SSQ? What's SSQ? SSQ sounds very cool, right? It's like a special task force, special squadron, right? It's a cool name, right? But what do you think is SSQ? What did we do? What is this? This is the result of squaring all the different terms, right? So what does this mean? This is squared sum of squares, sum of all the squared terms, right? Squared difference terms. So it's all SSQ. Okay. That's the dark. So let me make it lighter. Okay. So what is the next thing to do then? Since this is the sum of all the deviations, right? We want to divide it by the number of data points, right? So I'm gonna, because we want to find the average deviation, I'm gonna divide it by, and we know we have 60 data points because, but then just to make sure, I'm not gonna enter 60 there. Instead, I'm gonna have Excel. I'm gonna make Excel automatically count, right? So I'm gonna use count command, and I will count all the data, right? Okay. So then it's 60. Automatically, it's going to give you 60. But then, oh, you might think, okay, that's good. We got that. No, not yet. Why? One thing you have forgotten is that this has a statistical quality, statistical characteristics called, loss of 1 degree of freedom. Loss of 1 degree of freedom. Okay. So I'm going to come back to this loss, explain. I'm going to come back to this later, loss of 1 degree of freedom. But, for now, take my word for it. You cannot divide it by n. You will have to divide it by n minus 1 because because of loss of 1 degree of freedom, right, in the data set. So if you do that, okay, and that's, it's just too long. You don't want to. I'll just, use only decreased decimal and use only like 3, right? Or 4 at most, right? 3 is enough. And make it bold. So then, are you saying average deviation is only average deviation per month is average deviation a month is like 0.618%? Only as well. Now, I'm not satisfied. This is called variance. Okay, this is called variance. What is variance? It's the average deviation, right, of every monthly return, each monthly return, deviation of each monthly return from the mean. But then this is actually a blown up picture. It's not the life size picture, right? Isn't that right? Why? It's a blown up picture. Why is it blown up? Because we blew it up. We blew up the difference, right? Actual difference. We blew it up by squaring it. We squared it, right? So this is not the life size picture of the average deviation from the mean, but this is actually a blown up picture. So, but then we know how to turn it back to life size picture. Why? Because we blew it up by squaring. So then we know how to turn it back to life size, right? How do we do that? How do we do that? Huh? I just dragged it down because of the formatting, right? Because of the formatting. We know how to revert it back to a life size picture because we blew it up by squaring. So to turn it back to life size picture, you will only need to take the square root, right? If you take the square root of it, then it will be reverted back to life size picture. So all I need to do is, how do you take the square root of that? Either S or T, that's the square root command, or you raise it to half power. You raise it to half. Remember, square root is something raised to x raised to half power, right? So if you take the square root, okay, that's what it is. And if you take the, if you adjust the, okay, let me adjust. If you adjust the decimal places, 7.86. And so that is the life size picture of the average deviation from the mean. And it's got a name. It's called standard deviation. Standard deviation is, okay, what's standard deviation? Is the square root of variance. What's variance? Is the squared standard deviation. So variance and standard deviation are like twin brothers, right? Twins, right? A big twins, a little twin, right? Dr. Evil, mini-me, right? But this is a life size picture, okay? So we got to the standard deviation, and what does it mean to us? There are at least 3 things that this can help us. One is, of course, this is average. Standard deviation means this is an average deviation, right, from the mean, right? And it's the life size picture. And you might wonder, also some people may ask, if variance is the square term of standard deviation, and if the standard deviation is the square root of variance, how come standard deviation is bigger than the variance? Shouldn't variance be? Because it's a blown up thing. Shouldn't variance be? No. This is because we are dealing with a number that is less than 1. Think about it. If you square 2, then it becomes 4. Any number greater than 1 squared will become greater than itself, right? But then, number between 0 and 1, when you square it, what does it become? Think about it. 10%, 0.1. If you square it, what does it become? It becomes 0.01. Isn't that right? 0.5 squared, what does it become? 0.025. Right? Makes sense? So any number between 0 and 1, when it's squared, it's smaller. It becomes smaller and smaller and smaller. Right? So there's nothing wrong with this. Right? Makes sense? All right. So that's it for today. I want you also replicate the work.
Okay, so that's the end of that video. So we're gonna actually, do the same exercise. So I want you to all go to Yahoo Finance. Okay, I want you to all go to Yahoo Finance. So I have already Yahoo Finance open. Are you all looking at Yahoo Finance?
Yes.
Please open it. Okay. So, oh God, this is what this is my portfolio and getting hammered.
Yes.
Market turned down today and okay, good. If you're in Yahoo Finance, let's look up Apple. So you can just type in the search window, you can just type in Apple or the ticker symbol AAPL. You don't really need to enter the ticker symbol. It's taking so much time on my computer. AAPL. Because these days, you can just enter the company name and it's going to come up. But back in the 1990s, even in 1990s, of course, the Yahoo, uh, uh, the internet, actually, World Wide Web started in 95, actually. You probably don't even remember that because most of you, if you were born after that, you don't remember. Or even if you were born in the early 90s, you don't remember because you were only like 5 years old, but I remember it vividly, like, just about, a couple of years ago. And in 1995, finally, the, internet was born. And before that, it was called, before the word internet, it was called, information superhighway. And that was the name given by Al Gore, vice president at the time. But then, then we had World Wide Web, all the all the mainframes of the world were connected by World Wide Web. So anyway, so from 95, around 95, 96, then came, Yahoo and Amazon and Yahoo. They were like, really the forerunners in the eBay, Yahoo, Amazon. They were like forerunners. Only three names you could hear, and AOL. Four names you could hear on AOL, Amazon, Yahoo, and eBay. Only four names you could hear in those days. So they were like pioneers of internet. And in those days, there was Yahoo Finance. Oh, wow. 96, 97, they had Yahoo Finance already. So, and in those days, you could only look it up by ticker symbol. And before that, there was Bloomberg machine, but that was not online. Only, if you go to the university library, then there was Bloomberg machine, and you had to timeshare it. Timeshare. So everyone was given like, at most 30 minutes. You have to sign up for your time slot, and you could only look up through by using the ticker symbol. And anyway, that was really painful. But these days you can just type in just the company name and it comes up. So but this takes a lot of time. My computer is so slow. Why is stop? But if you you should be able to come on. I already have Apple in my but this isn't moving in my portfolio, so I can go to my portfolio and pull it up. But it's just my computer is taking that much time suddenly. Okay, let me just move back to my holdings. Not moving. And so if you're if you're looking at Apple's data, then wait for me there. Okay, now I moved back. Okay, so here, let me click on Apple. I'll have to wait. What can I do? I'll have to wait. Okay, so now let's not get distracted by all these other things, but let's go straight to the historical data. previously that was, labeled historical price, but historical data. Click on it, and I don't know why it's taking so much time, but I'll have, what can I do? I'll have to be patient with it. CPU is full. Okay, so now it is basically showing you the data in the daily format, daily frequency. We want it to be monthly. Okay, we want to, because daily prices are very noisy. Even monthly prices are noisy. But I mean, what we want to know is some underlying trend, deterministic trend. So some people might ask, is there a deterministic trend? Yes, there is. In the short term, daily prices are so noisy. It's almost like it's random walk. It's called a random walk. But from about monthly prices, you can. We need to get at least 5 years worth of data, right? Which means at least 60 data points. So we'll time period. We'll go back to as far back as October of 2000. October of 2017. Come on. Now I'll just change the number here. October 01 2017. Now you might wonder, we are in December. I mean, if we go back to October of 2017, then that's more than 60 months. We need price data. For price data, we need more than 60 months. And besides, we don't have any December data. You have to remember that. Well, you might say, it's already December 5th. Don't we have, in the previous video, what was I talking about? We are only, how many days in December, how many days of trading has there been in December? Only 2 days, I believe. December 1st was what? Monday, Friday, December. Thursday, Friday. 3 days of trading only. And when we are dealing with monthly data, this is not monthly. 3 days of the month, first 3 days of the month, that cannot represent the month. You have to understand that, right? We're dealing with monthly data, right? So from October 2017, December, and then apply. We only have, as monthly data, we only have November. And, prior to that, we don't have any December monthly data. Okay. So this is, as of December. What happened? Did I lose it? Okay, so you can see when the dividends were paid, right? And as I've been telling you, what the dividend paid in November was the dividend from the third quarter, right? Dividend in November cannot be the dividend of the fourth quarter. Anybody with any sensible mind would easily understand that, because fourth quarter hasn't ended. And the dividend paid in November cannot be the fourth quarter dividend. I've been telling you, fourth quarter has to end, right? And then only in the next quarter, then the dividend can be paid. So every dividend here, November, that was first, third quarter has to end. Third quarter ended on September 30th September 30th. And then the next month, October, is the earnings season. Earnings are reported data is compiled, and earnings are calculated, and really that information is released in October, and then they start paying the dividend in November, right? The same thing. The dividend paid in August is the dividend from the second quarter, and you might see all the dividends are all like even. Uh, First quarter. This is not the first quarter dividend. This is fourth quarter of 2021. So this dividend, and in 2022, all dividends are just even. I mean, by theoretically, shouldn't dividend change? Depending on the profit. Um, yes, it should. And quarterly profits cannot be same every quarter. So what does this mean? This is not the actual. This doesn't actually depend on dividends. Don't actually depend on that quarter's profit, that quarter's earnings. It was predetermined by the expected quarterly profits or annual profit, right, of the coming year. So um, it's really, in reality, dividend is not directly related to the actual profit of the quarter, right? And you can, the same thing you can observe in 2022. All 2022 dividends are all 22 cents, right? Then all, 2021 dividends, 2020 dividends are also. Anyway, the point is, now we need to download this data. Look, here's the download, button, right? Some students are asking me, Professor, I don't see any download button in the, I'm using, Safari, I'm using Apple, so I don't see any download button, They think the download button is somewhere here in the browser. No, browser has nothing to do. It's the website that gives that feature, right? If the website doesn't provide that feature, there's nothing that web browser can do. So pay attention to what I'm showing you, and then do exactly what I. So do you see this download? Right? You see this download button, right? And if you see that, click on it. And it's going to download it to your computer, download folder. And mine takes a lot of time. So, and you will see in your download folder, it's been downloaded, and it will show you, it will look like, aapl.csv. Now, CSV is only a data file. It's a text file. It's not actual. It's not Excel file. So after you open it and work on it, you will need to save it as Excel format, not as you cannot just save. So you can open it, but I've already downloaded it, and I have already. So if you open it, it will look like this. Oh, come on, it takes a lot of time. Okay. I'll also. Did you guys all download it successfully? Did you all download it? No response.
Yes.
Nobody downloaded it?
Yes.
Okay, only one person, two people. Okay, what about the rest of the class? Hmm? Only two people downloaded. What happened to the rest of the class? Away? To come on. Okay. What can I do? I'll have to wait. So if you opened that file, right? It should look like yeah. Maybe I'll have to close something. Something's using too much. It's still my browser. And the browser is using only like 40% of CPU, but why? I mean, so it's not taking up a lot. In memory, it's taking up a lot. No sign of Excel opening. Why? Well, okay, now something's opening here. And three files all at the same time? Yeah, I'll have to give it some. All righty. Okay, when you download it, right, it would look like this. But, again, no. Why? That's like annual. Why? Something's. So I clicked on it to. Okay, this one is. The time range was not correctly set, so ignore that. I should ignore that. And so basically, you should see something like this when you download it, right? Of course, I have already, changed the font because the original font was um, very tiring to eyes, right? So, um, but let's see why. Oh, why did it change? So I did exactly I changed it to and apply. So it went all the way to 2017, and then download. So anyway, I downloaded it already last week, so the date range would be slightly different, the time range, because the last you might have December data. I had, once again, December, whatever December data you see there is meaningless because we are not at the end of December, right? So first of all, I want you to, do what I did, highlight by clicking here, you highlight all the worksheet and then change the font to whatever you like, okay? Because then copy everything, right? Right, copy, and then move it to the move on to the next worksheet, any worksheet, right? Any worksheet, and then I labeled it, sorted in descending order. So here you copy, and paste it, right? Copy and paste it, right? And then you sort it in descending order, which is, not difficult. You go to home, just, sort and filter and sort newest to oldest, right? This is descending order, right? And then it will be in descending order, right? And then extract only the data that you need. So basically all you need to do is, as I said, we need only the adjusted close. So you delete all the other, right? Delete all the other columns, and a volume, we don't need it for now. Okay, so as you do this, always, add another worksheet, because we would, you don't want to get rid of the original data set. So it's best to keep the original data set, and then after that you can do anything you want. And then I'm going to change this when you have adjusted data, adjusted close price. And I explained in the video why we use adjusted close price, right? And then that's, I name it PT, okay? So here, just to make it easier, I have already, but next I want to do some, housekeeping for the labels, so that I, date, I centered it and underlined it, so that it will look like and then so that it would clearly, make a statement that it is the label, right? Underline, bold, centered. That's already, that clearly tells this is the label, right? And then we're going to calculate return, right? Calculating return is We already we already did it in the video. All you need to do is PT minus 1. Think about it. From November, think about it. If your data came with the December data, you got to delete that, because December data is meaningless because it's not monthly data, right? We haven't ended. December hasn't ended yet, and then you divide it by PT minus 1, right? And then it will come out like this, and you give it percentage and give it like at least 2 to 3 decimal places. 3 is not necessary, just 2. And then you can drag it down. You will drag it down. Now you can do it only when the this data is in descending order, because return you cannot do it the return is always from the later time period, right? It can happen only when we are in like November from December, right? I mean from October. You cannot have return in the reverse chronological order, right? So in other words, that was the reason why we had to sort it in descending order, right? If it is in this order, you cannot have return, in you understand, in backwards. You cannot have return backwards, right? So another way of thinking about it is PT minus 1 is always 1 month prior. Isn't that right? PT minus 1 is always 1 month prior. I mean, from paste it here. From November's perspective, from November, PT minus 1 is October price. From October's perspective, PT minus 1 is September price, right? Okay, and if you're doing it, so never mind, if you're doing it like that, still it's the same thing. PT over minus PT minus 1 over PT minus 1, and you still should get the same result. 2 decimal places. You can drag it down. Anyway, so when you have the return, now it's time to take the average of all those returns. And we're taking simple average. You might wonder, don't we take the should we take the geometric average? No, in this case, simple average is enough, because all these monthly returns are not like random occurrences, not like necessarily the compounded result of the previous month, right? We can see that result when it is like annual return. Annual return is clearly the result of the compound the previous years. But monthly returns are really showing some random characteristics, right? There's you see, suddenly, isn't this random? I mean, suddenly July it was positive 18%, but suddenly in August, negative, and then negative, and then positive, negative. All these are like random occurrences. So we don't see particular compounding effect month to month. It's like random occurrence. So in the short run, that's why in the short run, it's a random walk, right? But in the long run, it would show trend, right? And that trend is showing the effect of compounding. But anyway, once you get so when you got this, this 2.56% is the average. So I will label it average. Okay? And then give it highlight and bold font so that it would so far we have found average, right? And then we will find difference terms to find standard deviation, variance and standard deviation. Well, first find the difference terms, right? Difference terms, I will call it difference. Then next difference squared difference terms. And the difference terms, it's not that difficult. Let me maybe blowing it up a little would make it easier for you to see. It's the deviation from the mean, so that's why I'm calling it difference. You can call it, you can label it DV or whatever. Now that is the difference between that and this, right? And you're gonna lock that because you don't want it. You don't want that to change. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I have to leave because it starts another class.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't mean to do this, but my other class starts.
That's okay. That's okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Oh, actually, this is. I thought it was until 12:50, but I thought, yeah, it was actually until only 12:40. So let me just wrap it up here. Once you have done that, yeah, we're gonna have to continue in the next class because I'm sorry, it's 10 minutes already. All the steps have already been explained in the video, so you can refer to the video and you can finish up this. But we will, we'll have to call it a day here today. Okay. All righty. So where is it? The class is dismissed, and I will.
Professor,
I
on
will see you guys,
announcement, who wrote that the final
on Wednesday. Okay.
hello.
All right. What about final?
You